Look at that. Factory new, alien tech, hot, stat clock attached. Let's showcase it, and then while we do that, I think I'll, tell the story of how I found it and how I, purchased it and everything. So just for anybody quickly wondering, I paid around like 200 keys pure and then added some sweets because I'll get into it in the story. But let's start out how it started. I, for some reason, decided to look on Outpost, and there I see this paint, and I'm like, wait, why isn't it on classified? Like any other places I looked, and why only Outpost? And then I realized, oh, the guy is private backpack. So what he did is that he listed the item, and then he went private backpack afterwards, even though that's not allowed, and there's a whole lot of thing there. I also see that the paint is untradeable, and the trade were created 5 days ago. So I add up the guy, get in talk with him. He says that there's another guy that is interested in buying it as well, like generally, like in that regard, I think pretty sure that it was a fake friend offer thingy that he also pulled on me. And before anybody, like, in case you figure out who it is, like, I don't know how you should be because the name isn't in the history of the item because private backpack and but just in general, like, I don't hate the guy. Like, I didn't pay more than I wanted to pay in that sense. I mean, I would have preferred to pay less, but I did end up paying around what I wanted to pay anyways, like at maximum. I didn't want to pay more than I ended up paying, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And, everything is fine. I end up with the paint. Like, as a trader, I wouldn't have done the trade. As a collector, I had to do the trade, basically. And, to go on with the story. So, I basically asked what price range he's, looking at, and he's saying 150 to 200, and I'm like, oh, that's good. I have 100 and that means I can offer on it. And then I'm like, you know what, 170 keys is how does that sound? Is what I'm saying to him. He's like, I don't know. It's like, I'll think about it. Give me some days or something. He's like, that regard. And then I'm like, oh, didn't like that offer. Okay, what about 185 then? And I was like, oh, that's very good. I still need to, like, give me 2 days, and then maybe a counter offer. And then I'm like, oh well, the offer's 200. I'll ask a friend. I'll get like 15 keys because I know a friend owes me 15 keys. So I talk with my friend, get those 15 keys, and then I get back to the guy and like, oh, I have your 200 keys here. I'll buy it right now. It's your buyout. And then he's like, oh, I really want to give that other guy, a chance. So can we wait like 2 days for him? You need to look at this from my perspective. And I'm like, starting to figure out, the paint on Outpost was listed as untradeable, created 5 days ago. So the reason why it's specifically 2 days is because it's not tradable yet. So I ask, oh, it's not tradable yet? And they're like, no, it is tradable. Like, clearly he's fearing that I'm like, oh, if it's not tradable now, I'm not interested, basically. Like, trying to be here now. And he tries to make me wait, and, eventually we get to a point where I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll have to wait then. And then I ask, just out of curiosity, what did that, other guy offer you? And then he's like, 150 keys plus a Blizzardy Storm, killer exclusive. And then I'm like, oh, okay, then I know. Then I know that it's a fake friend offer, because if he asked for his buyout range of 150 to 200, then he wouldn't have asked for that if that were his offer. Then it would have been like 175 to 200. That would be more reasonable in that sense, right? Depending on how much he values the KE, or he would just have been like flat 200. That would make sense, right? But regardless, he insists that I wait 2 days before like he'll consider my offer or accept it or stuff like that. End up waiting those 2 days, trade him, and well, I basically start off asking, and the thing is, I have a backup plan in case he starts asking for more. But I'm just like, hey, are you still into it? Like, he asked me if I'm there, and then I'm like, oh, so are you still interested in my 200 key offer? And he's like, sure, yeah, I want that. Like, very interested in it. Like, he wants to do the trade, basically, is what he's saying. Do the trade window. I add the 200 keys to the thing, and then I just figure maybe he doesn't care about the sweets, but else he'll probably say it. And then, because it's a bit odd to ask for sweets on top of 200 pure, so I ready up the 200 keys, and then he just like, I'm just like, I've readied up the 200 keys, and then he's like, add sweets. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'll add. So I add basically 2 to 3 keys in sweets of tools and whatnot. And he's like, I don't like those sweets. And I'm like, well, this was what I said I could offer. And then I'm like, we're just sitting in that trade for a while, and I'm like, you know what, I can't be bothered with this anymore. I added on use unifier, and I'm like, this is basically like 10 keys. You gotta be happy with that, right? Like, because apparently, like, the thing I gave off for him is that I'm a collector, I'm pretty impatient, and I just started to, you know, play on with that because it seemed like he was afraid to lose me earlier in regards to basically me wanting to buy it now. So it fits pretty well in my characteristic. Plus, I actually do want to buy it now. So, and I don't want to, like, because looking from my perspective, it's like it's painful to just sit there in the trade window with the item that you really want, and then you're just sitting there for maybe 20 to 30 minutes total, and it feels like 3 days or 2 days at least. Very painful. Like, not recommending that. So I'm done with it. I'm just adding that in use unifier. I'm like, are you okay now? And then the guy starts asking specifically for items in my backpack, like, can you remove the unused unifier and give me that max set you have? And I'm like, oh boy, this is one of those people. And it's like, keep in mind, he's also asking for pure, like, sweets on top of 200 pure for his item, and he clearly doesn't have another buyer, so he's really playing with fire here. But I'm rather safe than sorry, because I don't want to offend him. I don't want to be like where he ends up being like, you know what, I don't want to sell it to you. Or people are weird sometimes. Like, some people would pass down 200 pure like that, even if you are overpaying for it. So I was playing safe as a collector, even though I knew that, you know, everything that was going on. At least I have an assumption. It makes sense what I was thinking. I can't 100% confirm it, of course, but makes sense if you think about it, right? Now, we sit there for a while. He keeps recycling, like, through some of my, like, basically browsing through some of my items, and he lands on my basically Dragon Slayer Warpaint, and then I'm like, oh, that's only 2 keys. I can quickly buy another one off the Steam Community Market after if it is. So I'll just give it that to him, and then, you know, done. But it's basically that felt like longest time ever, just sitting in that trade, and I just really wanted that Warpaint to make sure that it's secure. And after that, you know, the trade finally went through, at least for him. It took a bit longer with me, and at first it's like he says that he confirmed it for me, and then I'm like just saying thanks for confirming it, because that makes me relaxed, and maybe he's looking for that thanks before he actually confirms it. So I'm playing my card safe here, you know, paying about what I max wanted to pay anyways, and just don't want to risk anything. So I'm just like, thanks for, you know, confirming it. And after a while it finally goes in, and then the funny part is that he tells me that I could add him later, and I'm just like, you know what, that won't happen. But you know, like, not after this experience, especially with the private backpack. And you know, there's so many uncertainties, there's so many sketchy things going on there. He wasn't a scammer on, like, backpack.tf, even though his backpack wasn't recorded or anything. Like, I checked everything up on it before, like, risking anything in general like that. So it just seemed like he wanted to abuse the fact that he had a nice item and could probably try and, you know, make me have a blindside, even though he gave away his cards, and then I just had to play safe. I mean, one of the things he actually also did in the trade was that he wanted some of my medic items, and I'm like, well, you can just buy the medic items you like for pure, even though, you know, my medic hat is technically 1 of 1, and I mean, my medic stuff isn't that nice unless you like, you know, smoking any reorbiting fire. So I just said he could get some better with the pure, like, you don't need to worry about my medic stuff. And he's like, you know what, I'll add my unusually fire, because he had a rock paper scissors unusually fire. And this is before, like, he started browsing my backpack, basically, because he wanted me to add to the trade, like, add my medic unusuals to the trade. And I'm just being polite and being like, you know what, I can't really afford more than this alien tech right now, so you gotta respect that. I don't want, like, to also pay extra for your unusually fire, and I have, like, my medic stuff as part of my collection. I don't really want to trade that. Seems like he understood, and you know, after trying to push that unusually far on me, even, like, to the point where I'm just like, you know what, I'll probably check it out on the community market if I, you know, gonna buy it or something, and you don't need to worry about that then, or because he wanted to know in case he could take it down from the community market. And I just wanted to be nice to him. Like, I didn't want to be like, again, I didn't want to risk insulting him or something. So I was just like, you know what, maybe later. But good thing the trade just ended with him being like, yeah, you know what, you can add me later. And I'm just like, phew, my hands are clean. Like, It went nicely, like, all things considered. I mean, now I'm a bit of a dirty rat because I've told you guys the whole story, but again, as I said, don't hate the guy or anything. Like, even if he ends up watching this video, you don't need to take this as an insult towards you. It's just me telling you how this whole situation were from my perspective. And if you are watching this, I hope you'll stop using the private backpack while trading, because it's very scummy to do. Like, it really sends a lot of signals. And you may very well have had that Blizzard Storm and you're like thinking, wait, how did he know that it was a fake offer? Well, I used my premium on backtrack.tf to check every single Blizzard Storm killer exclusive, and then I checked their friend list, and none of them had you added, and there were only like 2 people who had enough keys to actually have the offer you claimed they had, and then there were 3 with private backpacks. And, you know, assuming as I did, then, you know, the chances for this offer being real is very slim. Like, it's probably not true, and that's why I come to, like, ended on the conclusion that, you know, this is fake friend offer. Of course, I don't know. He may very well have had a guy, maybe private backpack, who offered it to him, showed him in a trade window that he had it. You know, that could be the case. But, you know, I doubt it. And that's the thing there. So basically, it was a bit of a nightmare getting this warpaint, but in the end, it's worth it. Really sweet. I don't intend on using it on anything because, you know, I like to have it, and in case Valve decides to add like a Frontier Justice with Omega to stuff you can warpaint, then, you know, I'll use it for, like, I'll save it for then. But I don't know, maybe after a while, if nothing happens, like it doesn't look like they're gonna add more to the selection, then, you know, I may just put it on a shotgun. I know that a shotgun is a stock, and a stock is basically ruining the whole value of the item, but I kind of want a black skin shotgun for my engineer, and that's basically the reason for that. So for now, it's just nice knowing that I own this war paint, and I can use it as I wish. If, you know, suddenly decide, you know what, I want that unusual shotgun that I always wanted, even though it's a waste, then, you know, I can get it. I can get it, and yeah, it is. So definitely not gonna redeem it yet. Like, my current plan is to wait for like more updates to the warpaint thing and see if they start adding more weapons to it, and then I'll know my answer. If they do that, and it's not retroactive, as in these warpaints can't be applied to the new ones, then I'll just use this on a shotgun and then get some other warpaints for the new skins that I want, basically. And if they are retroactive, so you can use this on, like, they basically added to this pool that you can select here on all warpaints, then, you know, I'll use this paint on Frontier Justice if they decide to add that. That's at least what I'm planning right now. So, very nice warpaint. Hope you guys enjoyed the showcase and storytelling. I hope to see you again next time.